Leilani, do you have anything to say? Leilani, tell us what happened to Quinton?
We haven't seen no CPC. Complained about her 1-year-old son is missing. She woke up, her door was open, but he's unable to open the door. Think someone came in and took him.
Around 9 a.m. on October 5th, 2022, the Chatham County Police Department received a frantic 911 call from a 22-year-old woman and her boyfriend, reporting the disappearance of her 20-month-old son. His name was Quinton Simon, claiming that Quinton was home and unharmed the previous night, but when she woke up the following morning, her door was just wide open. When she looked over at the pack-and-play where Quinton usually slept, he was no longer there, and it was then she realized he was missing, believing someone must have come in early that morning and taken her child. Though she wouldn't call the police first, she would instead call her boyfriend Daniel Youngkin, who was at work at the time, informing him of the circumstances with Quinton missing. After answering the call, Daniel would tell his employer that he needed to leave, and then he rushed home to find the mother, Leilani, hysterical on the front porch of their house, just sitting there. At that point, Daniel had pretty much just assumed that Leilani had already called 911 and reported him missing due to the severity of the situation. However, Leilani had actually not picked up the phone and made that call. As mentioned, Daniel was the first person she called, and he was shocked when he learned this. He would be the one to pull his phone out and make that 911 call in order to get some officers out there to help them locate Quinton.
Chatham 911, what's your emergency?
Yeah, I need to come to 535 Buckhalter Road. We believe to come from kidnapped.
535 Buckhalter?
Yeah.
Did you say someone's been kidnapped?
Yeah, we...
Your 1-year-old son?
Yes!
When was the last time you seen him?
I saw him this morning when I left at 6.
Okay, have you guys gone outside to check the area?
Yes.
How old is he?
And he can't open the door.
So you think someone broke in? Has there been any signs of breaking in?
No. No breaking in, the door was open.
Was it unlocked?
Yeah, but the front door had bolts though, but yeah, it was.
No, I can't find him nowhere. I was everywhere. He's so scared. He's everywhere.
Okay. Give me a description of him. Give me a description.
He's, like,
He's got blue-green eyes, tan skin, dark hair.
He's what now?
He's got tan skin, dark brown hair. His eyes are like a brown green hazel.
Okay. And he's black, white, Hispanic.
He's Hawaiian.
He's what now?
Hawaiian.
Hawaiian?
Yes.
Officers would arrive on scene, starting their investigation into the disappearance with some basic questions, asking Danny and Leilani when they had last seen Quinton. Leilani is claiming to the officers that she hasn't seen him since everybody went to sleep the previous night. When she woke up the following morning, Quinton was gone. Yet Danny is telling officers that he saw 1-year-old Quinton in his playpen multiple times around 6 a.m. before he went to work. Roughly 3 hours after he left, Leilani would wake up for the day, notice the front door was open and the child missing, basically telling investigators they believe someone walked through their unlocked front door and abducted the child while Leilani was asleep in bed. Being it was the report of a missing toddler, the search and investigation got underway pretty quickly after the arrival of officers. They started by searching their house for the child or for any clues as to where Quinton could have vanished to, though their initial efforts were rewarded with nothing. The Chatham County Police Department, along with the FBI and K-9 units, all started to canvass the surrounding areas in search for Quinton. Many neighbors even involved themselves in the early search for the boy. But no matter where they looked, there was no indication as to where he was. Buckhalter Road, which is the road Quinton and his family were living on, along with the surrounding roads, were all temporarily closed, while the search for the young boy became more urgent by the minute, fearing for his safety. Descriptions of the missing child were issued to the public as quickly as possible. detailing that Quinton was last seen alive wearing a light blue Sesame Street shirt and black sweatpants, along with having light brown hair and light brown eyes. This search was extensive, and detectives were working nearly 20 hours a day in order to find Quinton. They emptied the family's backyard pool, they canvassed and then recanvassed an area, thoroughly searched a nearby pond, but still, they came up with nothing. As the days went on, his mother, grandmother, and anybody connected to Quinton would be questioned, while Chief Hadley with the Chatham County Police Department would hold a press conference, stating at the time they had no reason to believe Quinton was deceased. That would be until a week after he initially went missing, when authorities came across a piece of evidence that would entirely change the course of their investigation. On October 11th, 2022, just 6 days after Quinton was last seen alive, the Chatham County Police Department would take to social media with the following words to update the public on the case. "We've seized evidence that we believe will help move this case forward, and we're now working to analyze the evidence to see where it leads us. We continue to pursue all avenues to bring Quinton home, following all leads and evidence. There will be no further public statements at this time." For whatever reason, the police would not release exactly what this piece of evidence was, where they got it, or why they believed it would help them get to the bottom of what happened. Regardless, for the rest of the 11th, the canvassing continued while authorities dug deep through the evidence they recovered, trying to come up with an answer. The very next day, on the 12th of October, the Chatham County Police Department would make the following statement to the public. "We are saddened to report that CCPD and the FBI have notified Quinton Simon's family that we believe he is deceased. We have named his mother, Leilani Simon, as the prime suspect in his disappearance and death, but no arrests have been made and no charges have been filed." The news of his presumed death sent shockwaves to the community, who was desperately wanting to see Quinton return home safely to his family. Following this announcement, investigators would entirely divert the focus of their search to a landfill there in Savannah, Georgia. With the evidence they obtained, police and the FBI stated they were almost certain that Quinton was ultimately unalived by his mother and then placed in a nearby dumpster. That dumpster was then picked up and hauled off to the landfill. The landfill was massive, so the search and rescue crews had a lot of work to do, and day by day they were forced to carefully sift and rake through thousands of pounds of trash just looking for a sign of Quinton. Throughout the first few days, which turned into weeks, they found nothing, but they were confident that's where Quinton was, so they weren't going to stop looking until they found him. In the meantime, pressure was mounting on 22-year-old Leilani Simon, who found herself as a target to many people in the community who accused her of wrongdoing. Once she was officially named the prime suspect and the only suspect in the expiring of her son, protests started to form outside of her house of angry people who wanted to see Leilani arrested for the disappearance of Quinton. Many people were outraged by the actions of the mother, while FBI and local law enforcement were working nearly around the clock looking for her son. Just a few days after the search was initiated, Leilani and her mother, Billie Jo Howell, were spotted with a group of individuals at a popular Tybee Island restaurant named Stingrays, taking shots and being loud. The group was there for approximately 3 hours having drinks. They were noted as being a bit rambunctious while taking shots and having a good time, and they seemingly weren't too worried about what was going on back home where they were searching for Quinton. This ended up getting covered by several local news stations and blasted across social media when this picture of Leilani at the bar that night surfaced on the internet, which was just more fuel to the fire for the protesters, who were furious that Leilani was out drinking, and they really wanted her behind bars for whatever happened to Quinton, even though they didn't have solidified answers yet. During the investigation, it was discovered that Leilani had actually lost custody of Quinton prior to his disappearance, and her mother, Billie, was the one who had custody of him. And although Daniel and Leilani were living with her mother at the time, they were also saving up for a place of their own because Billie wanted them out of there. She did not want them living there anymore. Except for on the 5th of October, the day that Quinton went missing, her mother, Billie Jo Howell, was out of town somewhere, and Quinton was temporarily left with Leilani. Before Billie got home to start caring for Quinton again, he disappeared. They were previously living in North Carolina, and it's safe to assume she lost custody of her children due to her drug use, history with DCFS, and criminal history she was working on. Most recently being arrested for felony larceny, which landed her on probation in North Carolina before she ever moved back with her mother. Her mother would also say she had a history of stealing money from her to buy drugs. According to WTOC, who would eventually interview the mother and daughter, a month prior to everything unfolding, on September 8th of 2022, Billy would file papers to have Daniel and Leilani evicted from her home. The household was described as feeling tense, and it wasn't necessarily a cohesive environment to be in. This decision to file eviction papers came right after a heated argument between Leilani and her mother, which resulted in the presence of law enforcement at their house. It turns out this fight was about the laundry, but nobody pressed charges in that case. Then weeks after the papers were filed, Leilani would receive this eviction notice and at the same time was ordered to pay child support to her mother for caring for Quinton. This order was given to Leilani on the 26th of September, just 2 weeks prior to her son going missing. As everything was coming out, the more and more investigators dug into the past of Leilani, only to find she had truly been on a downward spiral for months, making extremely concerning videos that paint a clear picture as to why she wasn't in the right state of mind to properly care for her children. One specific video and the details we will get into shortly. Nearly 3 weeks after the search for Quinton began, on October 24th, 2022, both Leilani and her mother would agree to be interviewed by WTOC, which is one of the local news stations. This is all while she is still the prime suspect in the case, and they both claim they want Quinton to return home safely, and Leilani boldly claims that if anything comes up proving she is at fault for what happened to little Quinton, then she will personally take herself down to the jail and turn herself in.
I can't even walk out and appreciate my own son's memorial or put down the gifts that I got for him. I can't even go out there and do that without harassment and negligence and just everything. It's devastating to see that this is how the outside world reacts. I'm here, I've been here every day since this. I am not running and I'm not hiding. And if something does come up that I am at fault, I will take myself to that police station. Every day that goes by is less tears and more anger, not knowing what's happening, if that's even understandable. You wake up every day angry, hoping that you're going to get a phone call, and that phone call just doesn't come. We want something great to come out of this, but mostly we want him not to be found in that landfill. We want him found happy and alive. We want him back in our arms, holding us. That's what we want. We're just hoping that he's in somebody's house and they're feeding him, and they are hoping that, maybe they wanted a baby or couldn't have a baby. Maybe they thought they were his savior. But it's not. That's their best hopes at this point.
In a separate interview with another news station when her daughter wasn't there, Billie Joe Howell would blatantly say that Leilani doesn't always do the right thing. Sometimes she does, but she often doesn't, leading me to believe that even her mother suspected her of wrongdoing and believed that Leilani might be capable of something like this.
She hasn't always done the right things, and sometimes she does really great, and sometimes she doesn't. And I don't know what to think right now. I don't know what to believe, I don't think anybody ever believes that this is going to happen to them. I don't know if I can trust her or if I don't. I just know I'm hurting, and I want this baby home.
We want answers, and we don't have answers. Whether it's the answers we want to hear or answers we don't want to hear, we just want to know something.
It's just a baby.
She's lied to us so many times, and I don't know, it's just bad to say, but she just likes to lie.
Please feel like whatever, Leilani's story doesn't add up. Well, I've been talking with the baby's father, with Quinton's father. I've been talking with him all day yesterday, and he's already been questioned, and they've already went to his job and went to his home, and Quinton's not there, which is, I didn't think he would be anyway. Why Leilani would even come up with a story like that, I don't even know.
That's your daughter?
Yes.
That's his mom?
Yes.
Leilani was not only interviewed by this TV station, she was also grilled over and over again with questions from interrogators during the course of this investigation, which is also where the bulk of her shady story would get exposed due to the evidence that authorities now had in their possession. Detectives then figured out that Leilani had actually left her home the night prior to Quinton's disappearance in order to go meet with her alleged drug dealer and buy an unspecified drug before returning home. Then in the wee hours of the morning on October 5th, it was revealed revealed Leilani left her house once more around 1 a.m., going roughly a mile away from her house and parking next to some dumpsters that were outside of a mobile home park. And then while she was there, she got out and she threw something away in the dumpsters. When questioned by police about this late night outing and why she felt the need to go to these dumpsters at 1 o'clock in the morning, Leilani is telling the officers she actually left the home that night to go meet her friend Misty at a nearby gas station in order to get some Orajel for some issues she was having with her mouth. Except police knew that wasn't true, and they would later talk to Misty, who confirmed it, saying, "No, I did not go to meet Leilani at the gas station at 1 a.m. and in fact, I haven't seen my previous coworker in at least a few months." When they confronted Leilani about what exactly it was she threw in the dumpsters, she gave them a pretty bizarre explanation. However, it seems because the authorities were aware that she randomly left her home at 1 a.m. on the morning he vanished and drove to these dumpsters, that they firmly believe she killed her son and then drove there specifically to dispose of Quinton, which is why the focus during their search was without hesitation shifted to the landfill there in Savannah, Georgia. The effort that went into this search is insurmountable. It's estimated that those searching for Quinton Simon moved and looked through nearly 1.2 million pounds of trash in just over a month, delicately raking through and examining each piece. Everyone who was involved in searching the landfill was aware they were looking for a very young child with really small body parts, so the way they conducted the search was very, very carefully. After over a month of painstakingly combing through the majority of the trash at the landfill, a heartbreaking discovery was made.
Tell me what it felt like to see that little piece of Quinton's skull and pick it up and realize what it was.
It was heartbreaking.
Was it rewarding also? I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Think.
I don't have any questions yet.
On November 18th, 2022, 44 days after the youngster was last seen alive, the remains of 20-month-old Quinton Simon were discovered when one of the crew members came across his skull in the landfill. Then slowly but surely, more and more searchers would find the rest of him. Everything they came across at the landfill would be taken back to an evidence tent they had set up there on scene, before eventually being sent off with the FBI to undergo a DNA test. It didn't take long for the results to come back, confirming they did indeed locate the body of Quinton Simon. This discovery was devastating for the rescue team, who had to go through the horrifying experience of coming across his remains, many of whom sought counseling after the fact due to just how distressing it was. Not to mention the impact it had on his family members and the rest of the community, who was speechless over the news. Just 3 days after Quinton was found, on the 21st of November, 22-year-old Leilani Simon would be taken into custody and booked for unaliving her son, along with a slew of other charges. Leilani, who professed her innocence up until the day she was arrested, was now facing life in prison for the disappearance of her son. During the trial, a ton of evidence and testimony was given, but few was telling as a video that Leilani recorded on the road, displaying just how emotional and unstable she was in the months leading up to the end of Quinton's life. This video was recorded a few months prior to everything unfolding, and based on their history and this video, it's clear her and Daniel had an incredibly turbulent relationship that was often hindered by drug use and fighting. In the midst of their broken relationship, Leilani began having a mental breakdown, and she pulled her phone out to record a message for Daniel, displaying the downfall of her mental health and just how her desire and need to be loved was her priority over properly caring for her children. There's certain areas of this footage that I probably probably can't play due to YouTube being YouTube, but Leilani is seen driving down the road, allegedly towards a river, where she's planning to end it all by driving herself into the river. Screaming and crying in the video, she begins the recording by saying goodbye to her children, Sky, Quinton, and Zane. Speaking to her middle child, Quinton, first, saying how sorry she is, that she won't be around for them like she wants to be, and it's just that she could never love herself. How every time she would scream out for help, she would never get it. She quickly shifts her focus to Sky, her daughter, telling her how beautiful she is, and that she really wishes she could watch her grow up, but she can't. Also how she wanted to be around for Sky, to hold her daughter for her first heartbreak, because that was something that she never had from her mother. Then Zane, her oldest son, who she calls handsome, touches on his protective nature and professes that he's gonna be such a good man one day, before finally addressing Daniel, saying she worshipped the ground that he walked on and she would do absolutely anything for him, but he didn't even love her. All she wanted was for Danny to love her, and he didn't want anything to do with her when she was pregnant, going as far as to say he didn't even want to have sex with her. The rant and video lasted a total of around 4 minutes, and before it concluded, she would tell Danny, "Please, for the love of God, take care of my kids. This is the end of the road for me. I'm at the river now. Bye." And she ended the video. The video is out there for sure, but the more I watch it, the more those emotions and tears seem forced to me. I mean, she's obviously in distress, but at times it seems she's intentionally trying to look as broken down as possible to garner sympathy from whoever watched this video. As she pulls up to the river and is talking to Danny, her breakdown and emotions seem much more genuine than when she was talking about her children, but that's only for a few seconds before the video comes to an end. Following the end of the video, Leilani would obviously not go through with it, and she went back home to Danny and her children.
To Sky, Zane, and Quinton. Mama tried. If I can love myself, how can I love y'all? I have tried over and over and over, and I failed. And Zane, you were so handsome. And Danny, I loved you. I loved you with all of me, all of my heart. I loved you. I worshiped the ground you walked on. When we found each other, we were both in such fragile states. And I built you back up. I don't hear the love in your voice anymore. I don't feel the love in your touch anymore. And I definitely don't see the love in your eyes anymore.
The prosecution made sure to point out the fact that nothing changed in the time frame between that video being recorded and the day Quinton was discovered missing, meaning that was her mindset and emotional state throughout that entire period. So it's no surprise that this, mixed with the couple's use and history and all that shit, led to Billie Joe Howell taking custody of her children because she couldn't take care of them. So it's no surprise this, mixed with the couple's drug use, eventually led to Billie Joe Howell getting custody of her children because she couldn't take care of them. Losing custody of her children probably also amplified the way she was feeling, causing her to spiral more. During the investigation, Daniel Youngkin would actually agree to work with the authorities in attempts to gain further evidence that Leilani was involved in her son's disappearance. Before Leilani was arrested, Daniel would bring her to a specific hotel room that had previously been bugged by the FBI in order to try to get her to talk about what actually happened to Quinton on tape, although it isn't really clear if anything substantial came from that. When listening to the testimony of the neighbors and anyone who was close to Leilani, it's clear she didn't have the best reputation among the community. One of the neighbors who would later testify would say she kind of always thought Leilani was a lousy mother who was never really focused on her kids enough to properly take care of them. She would even watch Quinton at times, and she noticed some strange things, such as times she recalls Leilani feeding his older brother Zane first, getting him food, but making Quinton wait. Another person who testified was a different babysitter that would often watch over Leilani's kids, and this 17-year-old girl isn't being identified publicly due to her age. She started her testimony by detailing detailing Quinton's personality and demeanor, saying he would open the door when it was cracked and he'd come in there and he'd love on you. He'll run to you, open his arms, and just throw himself on you and give you a kiss on the cheek. He was undeniably a loving little guy with a big heart, but it didn't stop his mother from singling him out and treating him entirely different than her other 2 children. According to this younger babysitter, she on multiple occasions witnessed Leilani behave harshly to Quinton, and only Quinton. This treatment did include physical at times, such as not wanting to help Quinton down the stairs, leading to him slipping and falling down the stairs, tumbling and injuring himself. Leilani refused to help her son, and it was the babysitter that came over to his aid. Leilani wasn't afraid to lay hands on him, and this babysitter recalled all the brutal instances she remembered and all the times she had to be a witness to that and what Quinton endured. Though she never reported any of Leilani's actions, nor did she call the police, which very well may have saved a child's life. This babysitter was also a child at the time, so it probably led to some complex emotions, confusion, and not knowing exactly what to do in that situation. During the trial, I mean, so many things happened. Her mother, Billy, was held in contempt of court and booked into jail for 10 days. It's almost impossible to cover everything that came out during the proceedings, but the prosecution wanted to paint a clear picture that Leilani was at fault for her son's death. Through the evidence, the prosecution wanted Leilani to be given life in prison without the possibility of parole for using an unspecified substance, then using an unspecified object to cause the harm that ended Quinton's life. After that, they said the footage showing her driving to the secluded dumpsters around 1 a.m. the morning of was the exact time she disposed of his body. Then she went back to the house and she slept it off as if nothing ever happened. The dumpsters that she placed him in were picked up the very next morning and taken to the landfill, so investigators didn't have much time to find him in the dumpster beforehand. The prosecution was well aware they did not prove exactly how Quinton was killed. Their only goal was to prove to the jury that his mother did it. Eventually, after the jury deliberated for a while, they came back finding Leilani Simon guilty on all 19 counts she was facing, including malice murder, felony murder, and making several false statements to police. Judge Tammy Stokes would sentence Leilani to life in prison with the possibility of parole plus 10 years, leaving her with a minimum of 40 years behind bars before she is eligible for parole. She was then transferred to prison to start her prison sentence, concluding this case until just recently when she motioned for a new trial. To this day, she is professing her innocence and writing letters to news stations detailing the lack of evidence the state convicted her on. Shortly after Leilani was sentenced, Billy Joel Howe would apply for custody of the 2 remaining siblings, even though she openly admitted to failing her daughter growing up, saying she let drugs take over her and she wasn't there for Leilani emotionally like a mother should have been. Many people and protesters believe that Billy is at fault here too. She gained custody of Quinton due to her daughter's drug use and open case with DCFS, and then she chose to leave Quinton in the care of Leilani to go out of town, and it ended up being the exact time frame that he was killed. So it just seems like a vicious cycle of behavior, and unfortunately 20-month-old Quinton lost his life because of it. Eventually, a video surfaced of a heated argument between Billy Joel Howe and Diana McCarta, who was also a previous babysitter. From the sounds of it in this video, the argument arose because this previous babysitter had put a memorial up for Quinton before he was even found deceased, and this enraged his grandmother. This is the same babysitter that was set to watch Quinton that morning, the morning he vanished, but she got a text early that morning saying her services wouldn't be needed that day. The video starts after Billy had already stormed into Diana's house and she started screaming at Diana that her baby is not dead, leading to a loud yelling match between the 2 women who are accusing one another of lying. Billy is yelling at Diana, "This is my baby, not yours." But instead of explaining it all to you, I could just show you the clip.
Don't put nothing in your yard! This is my baby, not yours! That's your right, but that's my baby! I text you and I told you what was my baby! Oh, so now it's my fault? You need to go get it!
Y'all can get off the property.
I text you! I asked you over and over! I got the text! Over and over I asked you! So you want to blame me? I don't care about your text! You think I would hit you at me? Do you think I would do that? Yeah! Really? Because you are... I'm what?
No one likes
I'm
y'all.
what? I'm what? No, I don't blame nobody. I should not have been out of town. Yes, you did. You shouldn't have. No, I'm trying to provide. I told you. I was trying to provide. I even provided for you, you didn't. Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did. I didn't pay
pay for your family, your entire family?
I didn't ask you. I got
Your entire family. Keep recording.
Don't take my phone.
Keep recording.
Don't take my phone.
Good,
Yeah,
you were
okay,
wrong.
all this on social You were wrong. I begged you to help. I begged you to help. Put that on social media. I begged you to help.
Oh yeah, and I
begged you to help.
text you.
I said, hey, Michelle, please get the
No,
kids.
you're a liar.
Take them. I'll give you
Oh,
$300
you're
a
a liar.
week.
Well, I'm about to put it all
I'm a
over.
liar.
I'm about to put it all over.
Good.
All
Good, because
over.
you're awful to say you're going to put a memorial. My baby's not dead.
You are a liar.
My baby's not
You're a
dead.
liar.
My baby's not
You are
dead.
You're a liar. You're a liar.
No, you are.
You are.
My baby's not dead. I thought you
I
was a
didn't
woman of
say
God.
that.
I thought you were a woman of God.
I am.
You got Quinton?
You're the one that
Do you have Quinton?
I don't have Quinton. You're the one
Maybe
that
you
texted
do.
me.
Maybe you do. You got him.
Okay.
You got him.
Well, I'm about to call the police.
You're the only one that can go in my house and take him. Your kids go in my house and take him all the time.
Oh yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
We did not go in her house.
Oh, it's gonna be.
At the heart of this case, though, was the most important person, the one who needs to be remembered and is the focal point of this video. Of course, being 20-month-old Quinton Simon, who had such a big personality, on top of being incredibly polite and loving according to those who were blessed enough to know him. According to his obituary, which was written by loved ones, Quinton was a happy little guy who loved chasing his older brother around, doing everything he did, and he truly looked up to him. If you did anything for Quinton, he would always make sure to say thank you. Even if he was the one doing something for you, he would still say thank you before going back to doing whatever he was doing. He was a sweetheart, and anytime he was proud of himself for accomplishing something, he would run over to you and ask you for a fist bump, which he referred to as a boom. You meant so much to so many people, and I'm sorry your life was cut this short, Quinton. The world lost a beautiful child that day at the hands of someone who should have been his safety, love, and protection. To 1-year-old Quinton Simon, rest easy, little guy. You're more loved than you will ever know.
Hold me close so I'm not alone when the lights are gone.
Alright guys, that's gonna do it for today's video. I just want to say I'm so sorry that I've been gone for month after month after month. It's just been a wild ride, and really took an adjustment period to figure out how I could get back into this properly. I will explain it all in detail very soon, but to let you know what happened, where I was, what was going on. Until then, just know that I am so grateful for anybody that is still rocking with me, and I'm so glad to have you. A huge thank you to my Patreon members, and I will be back again as soon as I possibly can with another video, and it won't be 5-6 months down the road. I'll see you soon. Thank you guys again. Peace.